Right now at 10, flare-ups on the Whittier fire. People told to leave their homes with windy conditions tonight.
Tonight, a first-person look at what first responders overcame to rescue dozens of children the day this fire broke out.
And how the fire has knocked out cell service for many on the Central Coast. 20 minutes of nonstop news and weather starts right now.
Live breaking news from Fox 11.
Sundowner winds start picking up and more crews being called to the Whittier fire. Tonight, the firefight continues on the South Coast. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Melissa Mahan.
And I'm Scott Hennessy. Let's get to complete coverage of the Whittier fire, starting with 3 new sets of mandatory evacuations.
And the latest, Paradise Road. Late this morning, people west of Goleta were told to pack up and get out. We have a map here showing the boundaries for the Goleta area evacuation order. You can see it here, and the most up-to-date burn area. It starts at Winchester Canyon, goes west to El Capitan Ranch Road, just before El Capitan State Beach. The evacuation order also goes from El Calle north to Camino Cielo on the ridge at the top of the mountain. Highway 101 is open right now, but that could change. Those of you inside the Goleta city limits along Wagon Wheel, Langlo Ranch Road, and Winchester Commons, you are not part of this evacuation order. Mandatory evacuation orders are in effect for San Ynez Valley along Paradise Road.
Tonight, the Whittier fire and the Alamo fire are still burning. So we turn to Fox 11 team coverage. Keith Carls is learning how the Alamo fire is impacting cell service in some areas. Alan Rose tracking the fire conditions from our First Alert Weather Center. And we start with Tracy Lair live near the Whittier fire, telling us firefighters are bracing for a long night. Tracy.
They sure are. I am at the Dos Pueblos Canyon Road exit, the southbound exit of the 101. It's called the 113 exit. And earlier tonight, a lot of people were out here looking at the fire on the ridge. You really can see how many canyons have flames, and it's much easier to see after dark than it is during that thick smoke in the afternoon. The week-old Whittier fire doesn't appear to be dying down. Despite continual water and fire retardant drops, flames flared up, leaving a thick trail of colorful smoke, dropping ashes on people and homes.
We're getting more ash today than we ever have. We're actually getting full-size leaves coming down, and we're hoping they're not hot. We check them, but they all seem to be completely burnt, but they're completely visible as a leaf. It's amazing.
After dark, the fire burned bright in canyons and along ridges in hard-to-get places. Some flames are estimated to be 200 feet high. El Capitan Ranch evacuated, but El Capitan Canyon Resort off the Coast Highway has not.
The fire is that far away. It's okay right now, but that might change as the evening progresses. If the winds shift, that'll make the difference, and that's why we have these contingency plans.
The burning is too close for comfort for locals who know the history of devastating fires in this county.
The T fire, Hesesita fire, the Gap fire, all these, in the past few years have been kind of insane, and this is building up to be kind of like that. So I hope the winds stave off and we don't have anything too crazy tonight.
Crews are working to protect people and property as the Whittier fire burns into another summer weekend. And back out here live, you can really see the flames on the ridge here above Dos Pueblos Canyon Road. On the other side of that canyon, people have been concerned about the winds. It seems fairly calm right now, but you definitely can feel these ashes coming down. You might not be able to see them in this live shot, but you can tell, you can taste them, you can feel it in your eyes, and people that have been breathing this in all day might feel some congestion. Reporting live in Santa Barbara County, Tracy Lair, Fox 11 News.
Tracy, thanks very much. We're joined now by Santa Barbara County Fire Captain Dave Zanaboni on the phone. Captain Zanaboni, is this fire more active at night, or is it just more visible because of the darkness?
Hi. No, the fire is definitely more active tonight. We're experiencing some mild. We were expecting some mild to moderate sundowner winds tonight. The winds are light up there right now. We aren't getting those sundowners like we expected, but the temperature up there is actually quite warm, and the humidity is quite low. It's very dry up there. It's totally different. It's very misleading from the coast where we are here in Goleta and Santa Barbara. It's totally different weather up there in the mountains. So that's why the fire is burning so active. It's getting into some very dry dry fuel. It's just burning quite actively, and it's quite visible tonight.
Captain Zanaboni, give us a visual of what fire crews are doing right now as we speak. Our John Palmentary was the first to report last night. Crews were literally in people's driveways. They had hoses going into people's pools, trying to keep people's homes safe. Is that sort of the same situation tonight as far as the firefights going?
Yeah, we had this. This was actually very expected. We have a lot of very good intel on the fire as far as weather predictions and fire behavior analysts, and we were expecting this tonight. We had a huge order of resources go in last night, anticipating this event tonight and through the weekend. And so we have a lot of fire engines in and around that whole front country area, from Winchester Canyon out to El Capitan. And we have engines in there. They're prepping structures. They're getting in the structure defense mode in case that fire does come down and threaten any of those homes. Same thing's going on the east side of the fire over by West Camino Cielo and, Cold Springs Tavern area. That fire picked up quite a bit this afternoon as well, which was putting up quite a bit of smoke.
Distance is there between those flames and the populated areas, Captain Zanaboni? Because from the roadway where people are stopping to look at it, it appears to be pretty close.
It's deceiving at night. The fire at nighttime always looks bigger. It always looks closer. I can't tell you exactly how far it is from the homes, but it's still quite a ways. And we have a very large contingency line in there with that we've made with a dozer brake, several blades wide, and we in a lot of those areas up there between the Winchester and El Cap area, there's a lot of orchards that dot the the foothills there that that before we get into the more heavily populated areas. So we have a good break, but if we do get these sundowner winds as predicted, we've all been here before. We've all seen what they can do, and they can pick up an ember and cause a spot fire up to a mile away, a mile ahead of itself. So that's the precautions we're taking. That's what we're prepared for.
Okay, what do you want to tell our viewers tonight? Obviously, you hear sundowner winds, you see the flames, like Scott said, from the 101, from areas in Goleta and here on the coast. What do you want to tell people as far as evacuating, just general concern about the fire? You guys obviously are on top of it, just to follow evacuation orders and as far as that goes, and tuning in to the news and other outlets to get the latest updates.
What's important is if you're in an evacuation order area, that means you need to get out. We push these evacuation orders for a reason, because we think that you're in, immediate, it's an immediate threat in your area. And if you don't leave, it can be a risk to yourself and it can be a risk to firefighters. So if you are in an evacuation order area, we really want people to get out and, trust that the firefighters are going to do the very best to protect their homes and their property. And so that's really all I can say. If you're in an evacuation warning area, then you need to be prepared to leave as well.
All right, Captain Dave Zanaboni, Santa Barbara County Fire, thank you very much for updating us on the condition of this Whittier fire tonight. Talking weather now, and of course that always plays a major role in every firefight. Let's go to the First Alert Weather Center and check the current conditions with meteorologist Alan Rose.
Hi, Scott and Melissa, and it was great to hear what Captain Zanaboni said. We know it's a large fire, but he said that they're really not seeing the sundowner winds in the fire zone. But what I've shown you here is a few weather stations that are close to where the fire is burning. One is San Marcos, a little bit to the east of it. Sundowners have surfaced here. They're gusting around 30 miles an hour. Anytime a sundowner wind picks up, it dries out the atmosphere and it warms up temperatures. It has a heating effect on the low levels of the atmosphere. Nearly 80 degrees at this 10 o'clock hour here, humidity at 28%. And then west of the fire, about 10 or 12 miles, here's where we've seen the strongest wind surface, a due north wind at the Refugio Pass, gusting over 40 miles an hour, humidity 22%, and temperature at 77. Now here's my forecast. forecast for tonight. I think parts of the western flank will be exposed to some of these sundowner winds. Now, it sounds like it's not been a wind-driven fire so far, but sundowners typically last until about 2 or 3 in the morning. So still the potential in some of those foothill mountain areas to see gusts to 30. Again, the strongest winds, as I mentioned last night, should stay west of the fire zone. In those areas, gusts could top 40 miles per hour. Here's the Whittier fire forecast tonight. Still on the order, wind-wise, 10 to 20 miles per hour, stronger gusts possible. Tomorrow, we get a brief break in the morning, and then by the afternoon, wind speeds 8 to 15. Humidity-wise tonight, where the wind blows, you saw it right there with those current conditions, humidity down, so we could see relative humidity at times 20 to 40%. Tomorrow, 15 to 35, and temperatures tonight in the wind-prone areas 65 to 75. Tomorrow, looks like the weekend warm-up comes to fruition. My forecast calls for about 90 to 100 degrees for the Whittier fire. Now, coming up in a few minutes, more on that weekend forecast for the Whittier fire, and for the rest of us, what we can expect for your Saturday and Sunday up and down the coast. Send it back.
Alan, thank you. We are learning more about the daring rescue during the first day of the Whittier fire when 80 children and camp staff were trapped. Take a look at this video. This was taken from inside a Santa Barbara County Sheriff's patrol car driving up the narrow dirt road to the camp. Soon after the fire broke out Sunday, dispatch got the first report that campers and staff members at Circle V Ranch were unable to evacuate. Sheriff's deputies and 8 patrol cars tried to drive to Circle V, but as you can see, flames engulfed the roadway. They couldn't get through. U.S. Forest Service patrolman Dave Dahlberg was able to make his way through to the camp ahead of them. He sheltered in place inside the dining hall area with the kids and the staff.
I reassured them that we were in a safe place and that we would all get out safely. I spoke with Ray and got a head count of everyone at the camp and relayed back to Steve Oakes that there were 80 people total on site. It seemed like minutes, but it probably was closer to 2 hours when I first saw County Dozer 1 arrive at the camp.
Santa Barbara County firefighter Mark Linane used his dozer to reach the camp, taken immediately to cut fire lines around the camp there. Those flames were within 700 feet of the camp. What an unbelievable rescue.
It was fascinating to hear all the different first responders talk about how they came together to save those children today. And you can hear that press conference, which happened earlier today. It's on our website. We have archived it for you in full. You can go to myfox11.com to hear the entire story of how they did it.
True heroes indeed.
Yeah.
Well, tonight we're learning new damage in the Whittier fire cell phone towers.
The firefighters are not only fighting to keep people safe, but also to get them back their cell service. Keith Carls is live in Santa Maria with the story.
Scott and Melissa, AT&T subscribers have been without cell phone service since the Whittier fire exploded last Saturday. The destruction left by the Whittier fire includes cellular towers that were in the wildfire's path. That knocked out service to AT&T customers in its coverage area, including Vandenberg Village.
Terrible because it affects my job, because my job needs to get a hold of me. I'm a nurse and they can't get a hold of me for my clients.
Well, it's a little difficult because I've got my mother in assisted living, and whenever she falls, which she falls frequently, they have to call me and I meet her down in the emergency room. So that's a little difficult.
I can't even answer my emails, anything.
And if they want to use their cell phones, they have to get in the car and drive to find a strong enough signal.
And as soon as I get to the bridge in Lompoc, I get all my texts and my phone calls. But for some reason in the village, there's no service, and it's been since last Saturday.
My kids can't get a hold of me in Sacramento. Everybody thinks I'm mad because I'm not texting them back or anything. I literally, if I try to get service, I have to go all the way down by the airport.
Nowadays, for many, relying on a landline is no longer an option.
Most people don't have landlines anymore. Luckily, my brother has a landline.
We do, but it's hooked up to the Wi-Fi, which is not working right now either. Maybe we should start setting smoke signals or something.
Now, AT&T has told its cell phone customers that it will be at least until Monday, July the 17th, before crews can access the damaged towers in the fire zone for the Whittier fire and begin making repairs. Live in Santa Maria, Keith Carls, Fox 11 News.
All right, Keith, thanks a lot. Let's switch gears now and talk more about the Alamo fire. Firefighters are very close to full containment. Those efforts now at 90%. The total acreage burned remains at 28,687. In fact, that number was updated tonight. It should be 92% for the Alamo fire tonight. Tepesquay Road from Highway 166 to Santa Maria Mesa Road is open to residents only.
Some evacuees from the Alamo and Whittier fires need your help tonight. Santa Barbara County Animal Services has been transferring adoptable dogs to the Humane Society as Animal Services receives more canine fire evacuees. The Santa Maria Valley Humane Society is hosting an adoption sale this weekend in order to make more room in their kennels. The dogs only $50 to adopt. They come spayed, neutered, and microchipped.
Because as you know, we're seeing the fires continue and actually have new fires that have developed today. So we want to make sure that we have space available to continue to take those transfer pets.
The shelter will be open tomorrow from 10 to 5 for their $50 certified pre-owned dog sale. They have pictures of the dogs available for adoption on their website. Just head to smvhs.org. With the Whittier fire burning close by, conditions on the 101 have been slow going the latter half of the day. This video from our news crew stuck in traffic going southbound near Winchester Canyon and Goleta. The flames on the hillsides could look like imminent danger, but the firefighters have assured us, as you just heard from Captain Dave Zanaboni, they are on top of this tonight.
Here's another live look at the Whittier fire. This west of Goleta, up in the mountains there. Those evacuation orders have been in place since this morning. They are expecting windy conditions tonight. Captain Zanaboni telling us, though, those flames do appear closer than they actually are to the homes back in those canyons there, as we welcome back in Alan Rose for a further look at the conditions that are expected tonight in this important moment in the fight against the Whittier fire.
You're talking sundowners, and you know, living in this area, we've seen the history, and it's scary.
Very scary, very scary. And I think everyone knows that. If you've been here, you've seen the Gap fire, you've seen the T fire, you've seen the Zaca fire, you've seen the Hesacita fire, you've seen the damage they can do, and that's why everyone is on high alert. So we're all in the same boat. We know when we see the flames up in the South Coast hills, it could mean big business. In fact, let's start out with this fire graphic here comparing the T fire to the Whittier fire. So the T fire burnt back in November of 2008, a very destructive fire. We saw a widespread, significant, and strong sundowner event. Peak gusts during that fire were over 70 miles per hour, and for several hours, wind blew at that intensity. Now, for the Whittier fire tonight, as we mentioned, so far, sundowners have been fairly localized, mostly up in the highest foothill areas and the mountains. It's a weak to moderate sundowner in my forecast, and we will see gusts in the fire zone 30 to 35 miles per hour, but not widespread across the entire fire zone. Then tomorrow, it's going to be a calm start to the day, but another breezy round with potentially strong gusts tomorrow night. The good news tomorrow night is that should be ramped down a few notches from tonight. And again, tonight hasn't been a massive widespread event. By the way, when we talk sundowners, peak wind gusts typically between the hours of 8 p.m. and about 3 a.m. So a few more hours to go in those foothills, and then within the next few hours, things do quiet down. Now, winds are still ramping up in places like the San Marcos Pass, which is a little bit east of the fire, but still pretty close. It gives us a good indication of maybe what's happening at that elevation. I believe pass levels around 2,500 feet, maybe a little above that. Gust right now 31 miles per hour, humidity at 40%, and temperature is at 74 degrees. Much like what I showed you yesterday and back on Wednesday, the model not really enthusiastic about a widespread event. Usually you would see the mountain areas really turn colors on this color contour map, and we're just not seeing it. It's only showing some strong gusts western parts of the South Coast, and that's what we've seen tonight with those gusts over 40 for the Refugio Pass. Everybody's quiet tomorrow morning, and then by the afternoon, wind speeds around 10 to 20 miles per hour. By the way, this number always a little inflated. I think there's some built-in bias with the model with that Gaviota station, so don't pay too much attention to it, but know that the numbers will rise as we head towards Saturday afternoon, and then Sunday does look to be a little bit quieter. Highs today were up in the valleys, similar to yesterday by the coast, if not a little bit cooler, so we saw a big mix of temperatures this afternoon. Right now it's 62 degrees in the Santa Barbara area. We have 55 in Santa Ynez, 57 in Santa Maria and San Luis Obispo. And we still have some marine layer out there tonight. In fact, a little bit of dense fog forming just to the northwest of Lompoc. Even some fog still lingering across the south coast. But tomorrow, the big story becomes that building ridge of high pressure. So it'll be still windy at times, warmer and muggy in the forecast with the heat really peaking in the valleys. And in fact, as the high builds in and we start to get that subtropical moisture, I think we thin out the marine layer. Overall, there's still some high-level clouds moving through. So we'll keep your forecast this weekend partly cloudy, muggy, but I think that thunderstorm chance I showed you for the mountains the other day probably stays a little bit to our east. Tomorrow's highs with the warm up and the peak of the heating, 95 in Santa Ynez. We'll be in the mid-80s in San Luis Obispo and triple digits on the way around Paso Robles and Atascadero, 80s in Santa Barbara, Montecito, and 78 in Carpinteria. Santa Maria 7-day forecast, 77 apiece here. Your weekend forecast, then we're down a little bit, more pleasant weather by the middle of next week. Santa Barbara feeling a bit tropical these next few days and certainly warmer than the 73 we saw today. 5 cities region will see low 70s. Should be a nice weekend for Pismo and Avila. San Ynez Valley will see mid to low 90s, I should say, with temps a little bit down by around Tuesday, Wednesday. So tonight, you know, as expected, remember yesterday I was saying this was not going to be a widespread event. I expected it mostly west of Goleta. That's pretty much what we've seen. But there's still the potential that it could make that fire run in some spots. So firefighters, we have extra personnel. I'm sure they're working their hardest and they're battling this blaze with everything they've gotten so far. They're doing a great job.
Indeed. Thanks, Alan.
Yeah, I want to thank all the firefighters for their hard work.
Absolutely.
All right, I want to remind you about the fire evacuation orders. It starts at Winchester Canyon. It goes west to El Capitan Ranch Road, just before El Capitan State Beach. It goes from Cairel north to Camino Cielo on the ridge at the top of the mountain. People inside the Goleta city limits along Wagon Wheel, Langlo Ranch Road, Winchester Commons, you are not a part of this evacuation order. Now, if you're staying at 2 popular beach campgrounds, you need to be on alert tonight. If the Whittier fire grows, mandatory evacuation orders will include El Capitan and Refugio State beaches. Park rangers notifying people in those areas to be ready just in case. Campers urged to prep, pack, and leave if the county issues that evacuation order between now and into the overnight and morning hours. We will, of course, keep you updated.
Here's a quick list of emergency supplies you should take with you if you need to evacuate in a hurry. Take a 3-day supply of food and 3 gallons of water per person. Take a map marked with at least 2 evacuation routes. Bring a change of clothes, a first aid kit, and a flashlight. You can find more information on what to take on our website, myfox11.com. Just look for the orange tab that says Evacuation Guide.